We're live, I think,
We are
finally.
live. Well, hello, everybody. Winging It is a show by Oddbird about web design, development, and our approach to solving problems. On today's show, we are going to wing it, and we're going to learn some quick and easy UI wins for real. I am hearing some echoing. That is not going to be fun, but I will figure it out. Anyways, I am your co-host, James Stookie Weber, and I am joined by Miriam Suzanne and Stacy. And Stacy has bravely volunteered to walk us through a demo that she has made that has lots of different aspects to it and a lot of layers of really fun things. So, Stacy, you want to walk us through what you have?
Sure. We were trying to figure out what to title this episode because it's going to have a bunch of different things. And James, I didn't hear the echo, so I don't know, because I'm not also hearing an echo, but feel free to interrupt if you hear that continually. But yeah, we weren't really sure what to call this episode because we're just going to go over a bunch of like little things that maybe haven't been on your radar if you're not like super into all the specs like Miriam might be. But if you're like the casual CSS enthusiast enough to maybe catch our show, you might pick up a few little hidden gems that are out there and have been out there for some time. But the first thing that we will talk about today is the AVIF. I don't even know if I hate like saying a word that you only see in type. It makes me real nervous. So is it AVIF? Do you just say all the letters?
I don't know. I say AVIF, but I don't know if anyone else
See?
does.
I mean, that would be like a JPEG, like GIF, AVIF. Oh, chat.
AVIF? I don't
Help
know.
us out.
Yeah.
I've just been saying it all separately because isn't it like it comes from like the AV1 video format? I think it's like its origin story. I don't know all the details. I just know it's amazing and I think everyone should be using it if you haven't already. Um, I'm going to share my screen here. Perhaps. Share screen. I'm just going to share everything over here. I'm going to actually start over here. This amazing article by Jake, and it's been out for quite a while. This article is written in 2020, and the support wasn't probably nearly as good as it is now. But basically, it's an image format that you can use on the web, very well supported, and it takes almost every image I throw at it and makes it way smaller than JPEG and WebP. And we'll just look through a few different examples here. You're seeing the AVIF or AVIF format here. But here's the original. And if you saw a difference, then you have incredible eyes. I guess I could see a little detail in the road over here when I switch back and forth. And I'm sure my screen share even makes it harder to tell the difference. But you'll see here the file sizes. This one is 18 kilobytes, whereas the JPEG here is 74. And I don't really notice any difference between these two, at least at this viewing point. He goes into some further examples of like he zoomed in and then you can start to see like the AVIF or AVIF. Oh boy, that's gonna be hard. Kind of smooths the details here, whereas a JPEG, you can still see the difference between whatever this is called. But this file size is what, 5 times bigger than the AVIF. Oh, geez. I need someone to tell me how to pronounce this because now I'm feeling really self-conscious.
We need chat to weigh in.
Yes, please do. And so if we look at the original compared to the same AVIF file that we've been looking at the 18 kilobytes, if we try to get these other file formats down to about 18, which the JPEG couldn't get that low, you notice quite a difference now between this file and the JPEG. You see all the color banding happening with JPEG when you get it down to that low. All right, so those are a few examples. It doesn't do as well on this like flat illustration. It does handle transparency. I think it handles animation. So instead of a GIF or GIF or however you would like to say that word, it can do that as well. Very cool stuff here. And we'll just show you an example of an image conversion here. Let's see. Actually, let's see. Let's take my original JPEG here. This one I already reduced to 80%. I saved for web from Photoshop, and this is my 80%. We got 791 kilobytes. When I bring it over here, ooh, I'm going to zoom in. On the right, I'm going to switch this to this file format. It's only at 50% quality. And if I go back and forth, I mean, you can't even tell. And the one on the right, the file size shown down here is 102 kilobytes. And over here, it's almost 800. So it's a really big win just using this this file format here. You can even bring the quality down. Let's see how low we can get it. Oh, you started to notice a little difference there, like right when it rendered, but it's a little less detailed.
There's a tool going around where they show you two colors, and you try to find how good of eyes you have and what your lowest just noticeable difference is on the colors. Someone should build a tool or a game where you're trying to guess which is the AVIF format and
Just noticeable difference in image quality.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've gotten pretty low. We got 35 here. You can definitely see the difference, but for an image like this, maybe that's acceptable. So what I've noticed with this tool is that we used to have like the standard where you'd export everything at like 80 quality from Photoshop and save for web as a JPEG for like at least way back in the day, you used to do that. And here, like you can really play around with, you know, how much quality you actually need. And it makes a big difference in the image size. So if we take a look at a number of images that I exported for this gallery project, I have the JPEG and the AVIF or AVIF here. For
You're going to have
each
to
image.
just pick one and go with it.
I know. Well, no. I mean, AVIF is shorter, so I kind of like it. All right, so here's the AVIF file. And then here's the JPEG. And I don't notice that at all, but one is 88 kilobytes and one is almost 700. So it seems like a no-brainer to me that I would want to use that format. And playing around, like it imports, you can open it in Photoshop, you can use it in Figma, all the Adobe Suite, I believe. I think the only app that I've noticed that doesn't use it is Affinity.
Okay. But with Photoshop, you were able to export to either one. You don't have to go to another tool to...
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not in the Save for Web little dialog. It's you have to go use Save As or Save a Copy, and it'll be in the drop down of selections. Now with Photoshop, I was only able to select AVIF. I wasn't able to like edit the quality or compression or anything. So what I use is a tool called Squash. I got it. I think it's free in the App Store. I think it might be Mac only, but it might also be a set app. But you would just drag your JPEG or whatever other file format there. There's a bunch of other settings, but the only one that isn't like important to this conversation here is this file format. It does do the file we're looking for. And then this one, you have to kind of really play around with what kind of quality or whatnot. There's a lot of command line tools. If you want to take a look, we will include some in the show notes. So that might make your workflow easier, but because I'm always changing like what quality I can get away with, this tool works for me. there is a considerable lag when I use this tool. So if I were to export this right now as is, let's see how long it takes. There's going to be a little icon that shows up here. Not nearly as fast as just exporting from Photoshop.
Yeah. Since I'm often working on 11D sites, the 11D image plugin also will do the conversion for you.
Oh, nice.
Which I find pretty handy. So I haven't actually really like done it manually in a while.
Yeah. Well, that would be sweet. We should add that to our odd site workflow.
I think it might already be happening in our odd site workflow.
Oh, excellent. All right. So along those lines, it did finish. Or you can, use one of these little web conversion apps. I did do a number of conversions on an example image just to get an idea of some of the differences. So we started with that 800 kilobyte image. When I used Photoshop just to save a copy and not mess with any of the settings, because there aren't any, I got 342. When I used that Squash app that I was just showing at 50%, I was at 146. At 80% was 417. So, and they look identical to me. If I go through these, I don't notice a difference, even if I was trying to look for them. The Squoosh app, as opposed to the Squash app, the Squoosh online app that we were just at, that one I got down to 102. And that was at 50%. So both Squash and Squoosh, I did the 50%, and Squoosh was lower. There's probably other effort settings or whatever that I didn't update. And then Cloudinary has a conversion tool, 169 kilobytes. So, I mean, no matter what you use, you just get a smaller file size, almost always. There's like some images and outliers that you might not get a smaller size, but I think it's a huge win. I'm a big fan. You can use the picture element if you want some fallbacks, but it's so well supported. I don't think you need to. So unless you're like doing art direction, then I think you're pretty much good to go. Yeah, can I use not IE? So I don't think anyone's too sad about that. I started a spreadsheet just to see what apps worked and what you could use to convert, but it almost seemed like almost everything you could use it in, and then there's a whole list of apps that you can convert it with. So we can include those in the show notes.
Nice.
Then if we think of that one win of just saving file size, you can also pair that with the native lazy load that is in browsers now. And that, when was that available? That is newly available as of 2013. So we're at, I think, 27 months out of the 30 that's required for it to be widely available. Is that how it works for baseline, I think?
Yeah, 30 months. What is that, 2.5 years?
See, I was thinking it was 2 years. And okay, so that makes a lot more sense. Oh, bummer. I had all these like folded because I have all these photo credits in here. But here's an example of a demo of just a bunch of images. And with the lazy loading just built in right now, all you have to do is loading equals lazy for any image that you know for sure isn't going to be showing up like on page load. So you don't want to do it to your first few images. So that's why I think I started at number 10 here. So we see the first 6, and depending on how far my editor is over, sometimes I saw these 3. So if you just add loading equals lazy, as opposed to, I think the default would be eager, which you don't really ever have to use. That's just going to be what it has by default. That will defer the loading until it like scrolls into view or give or take. I don't know how many pixels. So you don't need like intersect observer. You don't need any JavaScript to do this anymore. You could just, one little snippet of code will make your life way easier there. James, you're muted.
And I think you don't have to care about how far down things are on the page, or what that, or the pixels away from the screen or anything like that. The user agent or the browser is saying, you know what, this is close enough. I can see how fast you're scrolling. I can see, I mean, it's taking into account whatever it wants to do, and it's trying to find that balance of there when you need it, but not too early for you, which is, I think, pretty cool. One use case I found was if you have a lazy loaded image in a dialogue, it doesn't load, it doesn't load until the dialogue is opened. So, which is a nice, that was a nice edge case that I might not have thought of if I was trying to do this on my own, but that's already implemented for you, which is pretty cool.
That is great.
Yeah, and it works on iframes too, if you're ever doing like a bunch of CodePen embeds or whatever, you know. Speaking from my own experience, it can be handy on that too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just love that super quick. You don't have to really even know how it works. You just put it there and you know you're instantly improving whatever it is that you're serving to your users. I am a big fan. I believe that they are also working on getting that available for video and audio, but I think that's like kind of just getting started. So we don't have that ability yet, but that I think is coming.
Yeah, there's also a feature coming, looks like it's already in Chrome and Edge, where you can say, because an image is lazy loaded, its sizes should be auto instead of explicitly setting sizes for
Hold the
responsive.
placeholder, yeah.
Yeah, so it sort of works. I don't know. It sort of like works with container queries in a way, or that's what brought it back up. People were like, "Sure, container queries, but I can't load different images automatically based on the container size." And this sort of lets you do it.
That's a good point. Yep. Another good point Tobias added is it does require JavaScript, but you don't have to like write the JavaScript. It's just a thing that I think if you have JavaScript off, it wouldn't work.
Oh, interesting.
I haven't tested that, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
it's
that's
anti-tracking, I think, or anti-fingerprint.
That makes sense.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up. I love our smart audience. Another quick win that's also somewhat new-ish is the @starting style functionality in CSS here, which allows you, among other things, to transition something from nothing. That's the main case that I'm using it for. So if you have something that is, for instance, display none, and you want it to display, and you want it to animate in, as opposed to just appear. Before, you weren't really able to do that, but now with @starting style, you can tell the browser like what it should look like when it starts, when it becomes an object in the DOM, and because you may have had display none before, or content hidden or whatever. Along with some of the transition keywords, it has to actually transition in order for this to work. And with allow discrete, there's like all these layers here. But if we have this whole combination of things, we can animate in, I'm going to say, from nothing. So when we have what allow discrete is for the top layer, is it specifically for top layer items so that it tells it when it transitions to actually defer its disappearance until it finishes animating, so it doesn't just cut out right away or at 50% or whatever.
I don't think it's just for top layer, but yeah, any sort of discretely
overlay.
Animatable property.
Is it overlay for top layer?
Oh, overlay is for top layer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm looking at a bunch of things and saying some of them. So it just works. This is all magic. Okay. So we have a dialogue here, and we're going to select our image. I made the animation super slow so we can see what's happening. We're starting out with opacity and scale of 0. This dialog comes in from nothing. And then we're going to tell it to transition the display because I have probably display further down the page, but it's going to end as a grid, and it's probably display none to begin with because it's a dialog. The opacity, which is defined here at first, the overlay, which is that top layer property, and then the scale, which we've started to define here. And then we can also control the backdrop, this background. That's going to have a color, opacity, and we're going to transition that as well. And then once the dialog is open, we're going to, I think I edited the background. Oh, I think it was nothing before. Oh, wait, no, I declare that later. We're coming back to that. Here's another one, relative colors. We'll get into that later. But it's going to be somewhat of this dark orchid, but almost opaque. A little bit of transparency in there. And then it's going to turn to the dialogue itself will be visible and scaled to 100%. And then it has this different grid template that you don't need to worry about. I've hidden that later, but I needed to include it here for easier authoring. And then this is the magic. We're telling the browser that these things will start at this definition. So it ends with this, the opacity 1, scale 1, but it's going to start at 0 and 0. So it's going to start from, you can't see it, completely opaque, or the opposite of opaque, 0% opacity, 0% scale. The backdrop is going to start at tomato, and it ends with this orchid color, and it's going to start at 0% opacity, and then it's going to end at 1. Although actually it's not really, because I changed the color there, but that, we're going to pretend. All right, so that's why it goes from red to orchid, just so we can see that transition, and then it exits out the same way. It's beautiful.
Cool.
That is a glimpse of at starting style. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
So cool.
Often combined with allow discrete, but it doesn't have to be. You wouldn't have to animate the display stuff, but I suppose for a lot of the use cases, that's going to make the most sense.
Now, if we don't have that, does it come in from 50%? Like, how does that work without?
No, it's just going to, because you're not animating the display, it's just going to happen suddenly. Or, well, did it update? Maybe.
I think so. Yeah, we'll look into that. Something's happening. It might not, maybe because the scale and opacity are also changing, you can't tell the displays.
Well, that's just the backdrop that you took it off of.
No, I took it off of both.
Oh, you took it off of both.
Yeah. All right. See, there's always fun things to play with.
One thing to note is you need that the starting style declared after your other styles, because otherwise it would get overridden. So this is I think my my gear to grind on this one. I want to just say, here's where you start, here's the open state, and here's the ending state, because sometimes you also want to animate out in a different way, and it's weird that you have to say, here's my open state, and now below it, here's my starting state, and it just doesn't.
And that's just because it doesn't have any specificity or anything, so it's just really easy to override the stuff you put in there. You could use layers, but yeah, it's an extra wrapper instead.
Yeah.
Specificity is useful sometimes.
It is.
Hot take.
You just got to think a little backwards. You got to start from the end and then go backwards, basically.
Yeah.
But it works. Another little fun property we've been playing with, backdrop filter. It's one of those that again snuck up on me. Like I know blend modes exist and filters exist, but I just absolutely adore the backdrop filter. It's all those like Photoshop-y type of properties. You got blur, you got brightness, you got saturation, hue, rotation, sepia, I think. There's a handful more. Drop shadow is one option. CSS trivia. There's probably like 3 more that I'm not saying. Grayscale. I think grayscale is one of them.
Yeah,
Um,
grayscale's one.
and what they do, I mean, what I've used them for is like sometimes when you overlay text on an image and you're worried about the accessibility. Now there's other layers that you'll still have to make sure, like this view zoomy is probably not a high enough contrast, but this is just demo purposes only. But it allows your text to be read a little bit easier if you do kind of blur out some sort of busy background. So right here, this is the dialogue credit, but it's also on the button that we have. And then we have, let's see, let's go down there. So yeah, so the backdrop filter is defaults from blur 1M and brightness of 0.8. And then when we focus or hover on it, then we're going to make it a tiny bit brighter and then like really increase the saturation. So that's why when we hover over Gonzo, it goes really green, or Flim Flam is really bright pink. So it gives you that fun transition of that different level of blur, backdrop
Oh, I like that.
filter. So yeah, it's just fun.
I feel like I skimmed past some article that was like other ideas besides blurring. But I like this. I like the like adding saturation. That's a fun thing to do with it.
Yeah, it depends on the theme. You could have you could combine a bunch of these things like we're doing here. So I think you could create some pretty fun effects. They're super well supported. Let's take a look. I should say starting style, baseline 2024. It's at 19 of the 30 months before it's widely available. It's newly available now. And then backdrop filter, what we're looking at is 18 out of 34, also baseline 2024, newly available. But definitely, I think usable, especially because it's pretty easy to, like, if you don't have the backdrop filter, then, it falls back to just a basic button. So you have to make sure it's accessible first, and then you can add the layer of fun that we have. Okay, since we're here, I know I'm skipping around a lot today. Text box. Now this one is probably the least supported one. Let me see. It's limited. So it looks like it's in Chrome, Safari, and Edge for over a year, but not yet in Firefox. But text box is short for what? Text box trim and text box edge. So this typeface is pretty good, but I mean, I can visually see there's more room above this word than under it. And what text box will do is sort of like trim out that extra like line height from above and below, but not like of the line height of the block of text that you're controlling. And some typefaces have different line height or like letter heights and whatnot. So using a combination of these can really help depending on your typeface. So if we add that to our buttons here, you can see they both kind of shrunk the top and bottom. So it's a lot more even. And you can see it a lot more if you use a different typeface like Fantasy here. Now you can, now it reverted back. Let's let it load because that's definitely not Fantasy. Is it not going to load?
Do you have something overriding that later?
I don't think so. I mean, I just have this HTML. Let's just change it here. Why not? I might have inherit somewhere. There we go. All right. So with this typeface, I think it's even more obvious that there's more space underneath
Mm-hmm.
the phrase than above. So if we
Yeah, and one of those things where so the other font face was the other way around, right? There was
yeah.
more space above than below. So one of those things where if you're dealing with fallbacks, like a padding-based solution might not work for you consistently for all the fallbacks, but this would, because it's based on the font metrics instead of
Yeah,
sort of a guess.
that's right. So yeah, I think this comes in really handy if you're very particular about your spacing around text. It is, pretty usable at the moment. Well, I guess not Firefox, but again, it's one of those things that's like, wow, this is a nice to have, but it's not going to break anything if I'm not using it. So I like those progressive enhancements.
It's definitely something that before you added that, I was like, oh yeah, that looks fine. I wouldn't have thought of that, but now it's just like, oh yeah, that looks much better now. It's one of those one of those little tweaks.
What's
And,
the
like,
default value for text box edge? Like, could you just say text box trim both and get a pretty good
I think
solution?
default is text, which I don't think does anything.
Text. Try setting
that
just
there.
trim both and see what
Okay,
what you get.
let's put fantasy back. I think it's easier to see.
Yeah.
One moment. That's up here. And then back to the button. Where are you, button? There you are. All right, so it's doing trim both text right now.
Oh.
And
yeah.
now it's trim both, which I think
Yeah.
is text.
Which doesn't okay.
And then
Yeah, I was hoping that that it would have a
you could do cap text, which your first value is what you're above your overline. So this will trim up to the capital letter. And then the bottom is the text is like just what is text? I think it's with the line. I think it doesn't do anything. Like as far as I could tell. Alphabetic does trimming to the bottom baseline of the typeface. You can see it better. I think Adam has a great article here that shows you how this works. This is my favorite one. So cap height will trim to the top of the capital letter, and then alphabetic is the baseline. So that's kind of like my preferred.
Yeah.
I feel like that should be the default, but I guess text does make sense. You can do one side or the other. Yeah, X is the X height of your the height of a X character specifically. Yeah. So interesting property that I don't hear a lot about, but it's a fun, quick little win. Ooh, that fantasy heading is. Let's change that back. There we go.
Your demo is stressing you out.
Yeah, I can't go on until we fix that. I mean, if the spacing of the letters spot like above and below on a button bother me, then yeah, we can't continue with fantasy. All right, so let's go to relative colors, which I know we've briefly spoken about before on the pod, but it's like one of my favorite things ever. And like when you use it, okay, when you're making a demo, it's awesome. I mean, it's also practical in projects, but like when I do a demo, instead of doing like an OKLCH value of, a bunch of different numbers and decimals, and I'm like, I know you can do lightnesses, 0 to 1 or 100, depending on how you write it. And I know the hue is, starting at 0 is like red and it goes around So like purple at the end. And so I can kind of predict like what a thing is, but it takes my brain processing to like look at each of those values and kind of wonder what it's going to be. But if I can always use a named color and then just, if I don't want the exact color, I could just use relative colors to say, okay, start with dark orchid, but I need it to be even darker. And then I also want it to be semi-transparent. So just using relative colors in a demo is so helpful because then, especially if you're using like color to see if something's working or not, then you'll know like, oh, okay, that's working instead of trying to figure out what color it should be. I just adore relative colors for that, which I know is a very, very small use case, but even if you're working in a project, you can create those meaningful relationships by starting with like one base color. And instead of using like sass and darken function, which we used to use like way back in the day all the time, like you could just use relative colors and you can save it as its own variable. So you don't always have to write this like long string of things, but it just keeps that connection using just CSS, and you can see the math and you can see how it's related. I just absolutely adore it. Any thoughts on this?
I'm with you. This is just so useful. The other day, somebody was looking for a way to extract one channel of a color, and to be able to like change another color to have the same lightness as this color. And there's a way to do it using relative colors, basically grabbing like the C channel and setting the others to none. And what you get is a color with several empty channels, but you can mix that in with another color, and the empty channels don't mix in, but the one that you keep does. So you could grab the chroma or you could grab the lightness and then mix that into another color.
Well,
yeah, and being
cool.
able to do these calcs on things, there's just so much you can do here. It's really nice.
Yeah,
you can even use the hue in the maybe hue isn't a good thing, but maybe like if you're doing something in RGB, like display P3, if you're working in that, you can mix them. You can use the R value in the G channel or the B channel, and or just say I want a gray color at the lightness of the red channel, and I just do RRR, and it'll work. It's just super flexible.
Yeah. Eric in the chat is asking about what DevTools show. Do you want to inspect one of those colors and
yeah, I think the whole
see,
background here
like,
is.
will DevTools tell you like the RGB value or the? Yeah. Okay.
So it knows it starts from
There you
dark orchid and goes here. It, I guess, will give you whatever value you want. The computed value here of. It's hard to copy though. I guess you have to copy it here, not in that dialog.
I think there's a way to get it to show different colors there, right? But I don't know.
I'm going to refresh there.
How you do that.
Here we go. There we go. Well, I can see both of those. Don't go away.
So it's showing you like how you got to a color, or
why does it go away when I click on the second one?
I don't know.
It's cool. I like it.
Yeah,
it gives me the actual
shows
calculations.
You like the steps that it's going through to like resolve the calculations and get to a RGB color. Yeah, that's very nice.
I think in Firefox that you have like an arrow tool that will actually take you to where it originally, like if I'm not even going to open it now, but yeah, check out Firefox's inspector because it also does some cool stuff. Yeah, I adore that. And so like if you're working with a color, the relative colors too, and like you're working with a color palette and you do only want to change one channel. Like I find that if you use something like a LCH, you can change just like the lightness of something and have it still related to like the brand color as close as possible. It might not actually be what you want because you'll see that some things are maybe a little more muddy and you still need to adjust the chroma perhaps, but that hue will always be linked, which is just a nice thing to be able to just change something for maybe a hover color or whatnot. So that is relative colors. You can also produce an entire color palette based off of one color with a bunch of different adjustments, but I kind of like choosing all of those myself. But for a demo, it works well. All right,
Yeah,
I have.
if you're doing any sort of like user theme picker sort of stuff, letting people choose a color and then auto generating a theme from it is pretty cool.
That's right. I have a little demo here, and this one's probably the oldest thing. It just snuck up on me. One day I'm like, oh, I didn't know you could do this. And it's the, I wish this was a little bigger. Which if I make it bigger, okay, that the text is big enough on the left at least. It's the nth child of class name. And I was shocked to see that it existed. I think I discovered it like a year ago, but it's been out for like so many years. But it's like little CSS things like that I think like once you know CSS for so long and then something like that is like, oh, I didn't know this was a thing. And then I try to figure out like, well, what can I use it for? And there's not a ton of things I could actually think I would use this for that would be like the best solution. I think there's some things with like tables that like if something's hidden, then that helps when you want to say like all these things, even, you know, ignoring the hidden or like accounting for the hidden. But here we have a garden demo. And I currently have 14 items are marked as my favorites, but I don't want you to think that every plant is my favorite because they all are. Maybe I just want to highlight a few favorites. So in the code here, I have, I am marking that every third of everything labeled favorite, for everything labeled favorite, every third one will have this border and the heart, so that you can always like keep it fresh. And maybe we span it 2 columns to highlight it. So my sun gold tomatoes are important, and then my better boy. But if you see here, if I remove like my limited favorites, and this is just showing all the favorites, there's so many favorites, and then I remove the highlight from, or I removed the span from them, and I changed it to orange or something as opposed to tomato. But who knew nth child of class existed? I don't know.
Yeah. What I'm learning is that you really like tomatoes.
Oh my gosh, I love tomatoes. We should do a whole episode. I'm working on a garden app because I can't find any good ones.
Oh, fun.
And I just think everyone should have a little backyard garden. And I'm not good at it, but you know, I try. I give it my all. We'll see what happens this year.
And if you change that from a class to just an element type, just like 3n+1 of li or whatever, that would be the same as nth of type, which we've had for a while.
Yes.
But it's the same sort of idea. Nth child of something as just a little bit more flexible way of doing it.
Yeah. And then in order for my grid not to look silly, I added the grid autoflow dense, which I know again is an accessibility issue, but this is not in any specific order. This is just a fun garden display, so we can do that here. So yeah, little CSS wins that may have been there all along and no one's noticed them, or not many people have written about them. And I thought they deserve some attention.
Yeah, those are great. And I like how several of them combine. I mean, you know, being able to do the backdrop stuff, you could, I mean, you were doing filters on that, but also animating it in and out. auto-loading stuff inside of it. I mean, I think the relative color stuff is also useful for doing the same sort of animating a color, transitioning a color. Just like I have this background color, I just need the border to be the same thing, but a little bit darker. That's where like maybe you're not generating your entire branding, but you're generating little tweaks to it in specific places. Yeah, there's so much you can do with all this.
And I really appreciate.
Now you're echoey.
Now you're echoing.
Yeah. I don't know why you weren't before.
Me neither. Okay, I will be quiet.
You can put your message in the chat. Well, James is out. Miriam, do you want to do the closing or do you want me to?
Oh, let's see. Either way, do I have it here? Yes. Okay.
You don't have it memorized? 2.5 years in?
I'm winging it here. I was told that this is winging it.
It is.
Do what I'm told. Please visit oddbird.net/winging it to access links and resources mentioned on today's show or to send us feedback and topic requests. I'm continuing to work on a CSS video course called Poetic CSS about not just the features, but how they all fit together, how the language works, how to think about it, and especially focused because we asked what people wanted to hear about. And a lot of people wanted to hear about naming and organizing conventions, how to make CSS, write CSS that's maintainable. And so that's a big focus of the course. And let's see, the next Winging It, James has a teaser for the next Winging It because James will be leading that. Do you know what the topic is, Stacy? I don't have that off the top of my head.
James, let's see if your microphone works first. Otherwise, I can talk about it.
No.
All right. I believe it's on anchor positioning. Or it wasn't
great.
popover. I was worried that it might have been popover, but I mean, either is great. I don't know about if it's something specific with anchor positioning or just, I know we've done a show or so, but maybe this is all the new updates or how you can use it.
There have been changes to anchor positioning since we've looked at it last.
And it's baseline now, right? Is that right?
It's almost baseline.
Let's try to read Jameson.
Let's see what Web Platform Features Explorer says about Anchor. Anchor position, limited availability. Wait. This is saying that it's not in any browser, but that's wrong, right? That's true. It's not in any browser.
Without a flag?
Yeah, without a flag. Okay, so it's only in pre-release versions currently.
That doesn't mean we should wait.
Or only behind a flag currently. We need to improve our charades here.
That's all right.
Yeah. Anyway,
join us.
We'll be talking about that more.
We'll all discover what it's going to be.
About it.
Yeah.
If you'd like to support us, please like and subscribe. And if you want more from Oddbird, check out our newsletter at oddbird.net/oddnews. And thanks for joining us. And remember that best practice is a conversation. So let's keep talking. Thank you all.